Ryan, thank you so much for being here today with Keller Williams Fairfax Gateway. It's an honor to have you here.
My pleasure to be here, Miguel. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I have a few questions for you.
Yes, you do.
And I want to start with, okay. So as the CEO of NVAR, what do you see as the biggest trends currently shaping the real estate industry? And how is NVAR preparing its members to navigate these changes?
So biggest industry trends, there's a lot of things happening in the real estate industry. I would say probably number one is just the evolving way that realtors are doing business, real estate professionals are doing business, how they sell, how they represent their listing clients, how they represent buyers especially is changing as a result of the landscape that we've experienced in the last 2 years. You know that we had a pretty big lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors and a resulting settlement that required us to change the way we do business in certain ways. So I see that as sort of the biggest trend right now is we're seeing associations like ours having to evolve to meet the needs of our members. And that means, certain types of education classes we've got to put on, changes to the forms, the standard forms that we use in our region and how businesses practice through the utilization of those forums. And it just means looking at things differently, educating agents on how to represent buyers in a whole different way. So definitely the changing landscape of how agents are working with buyers and sellers for sure. The other thing we're seeing is a trend is the marketplace. We've got low inventory that we've had for a long time, particularly here in the Northern Virginia region and the greater metropolitan Washington, D.C. area, making it more difficult for the real estate market in general. It's driving up prices. And it's, buyers have a little bit less to look for in terms of homes available in the marketplace and affordability. But realtors are creative. And so that's one of the things that I've noticed in real estate professionals is they're very creative. And we're here to be a partner with agents to make sure that they're prepared for success. They're navigating the new way to do business. They're figuring out ways to help sellers in all new ways. They're figuring out ways to help buyers find the home of their dreams, to buy into the American dream of home ownership.
Great. So let's talk about technology. So technology is rapidly transforming the real estate landscape. How's NVAR helping realtors adapt to the increasing role of digital tools like AI and virtual platforms in the industry?
You're one of the most advanced, I'd say, in AI that I've met in terms of brokers in the region. You've personally showed me some of the tools that you're starting to use. You're ahead of the curve, and we see what you're doing, and we're learning from that and trying to bring things like that to the rest of the industry. So we do a couple things with technology, but I'd start by saying, we kind of have three strategic goals or strategic drivers for NVAR. The first one is value, making sure that we're providing value to our members who are subscribers or belong to our association. We want to make sure that when they pay their dues to our organization, they feel like they're getting a huge return in their investment. The second strategic driver is innovation. And that's a core focus. And the third one, by the way, is impact. And I can get into that maybe in another part of the discussion. But innovation is something that's core to who we are as an organization, the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors. So we do a lot of different things. Number one, we have a technology advisory group.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sure.
You may have participated in some of their committees or programs. And that's a group comprised of realtors who are innovative, who are tech forward, who are always looking to enhance their business through the use of technology. And what that group does, a lot of what they do is they look at what's happening in the industry with technology. They sort of vet different products and services, and they help bring those to the industry, to the association, through education sessions, through learning opportunities, through demonstrations. In some cases, they end up bringing technology that we find as an organization is so valuable and that we're hearing demand from brokers and agents that we end up potentially investing in it and bringing that to members. And when I say investing, I don't necessarily mean investing in the company, but we might enter into a partnership with that company to bring the service to our agents. A good example of that for NVAR would be Docs Plus by Remind, which is an e-signature solution and documented transaction management platform. We brought that to our NVAR members about 3-4 years ago. And at the time, we still think it's one of the most future-focused transaction management platforms out there. And we felt it so strongly enough about it at the recommendation of our technology advisory group that we wanted to bring that to members. And that's included as a member benefit. So our agents, our 13,000 or so members, don't have to pay an additional fee to get access to that service.
And now you guys just released the app, the NVAR app. Right.
That's another great example of technology. We're innovating,
It's great.
which, by the way, I got to give you credit, Miguel, because as a former board member of the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors, your insights have been so valuable to us and your leadership. And I know you personally have encouraged us
Yes.
to get an app.
Yeah, no.
And I agree with you.
I wanted to call you Miguel.
You wanted to call it the
Miguel.
Yeah. We that's the nickname we call it.
Is that the nickname?
Yeah, internally. But we just released that not too long ago, about a month ago.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about it. And that's another area where the technology advisory group played a critical role. They helped us figure out what kind of technology we needed, what kind of app vendors we should be looking at to consider when we do roll it out. What are the most key features that we should at least bring in the initial rollout, and then plan for future phases. And that was not an easy decision because it's a big investment of our member dues. But there's kind of competing perspectives. Do we just invest in our website, make it mobile responsive, and that's kind of what we do, or do we do an app? And we felt really strongly in the technology advisory group and our board of directors that an app was the way to go. We want to. One of our driving philosophies is to meet members where they are as an organization. Right. We want to be where you are, and where you are is on the street. You're doing deals in your car. You're at a Starbucks. You're meeting with clients at their houses. You're not just confined to an office where you have your laptop handy all the time and you need to be on your website. So we want to be in your pocket. We want to be in your bag. We want you to be on your iPad and be able to access everything that's available to you through NVAR.
Yeah, and it's super easy to use. So I love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about.
Can I mention one other thing about technology? Please. One of the innovative things that we do is we partner up with, or at least we create opportunities to create awareness around up-and-coming startups in the real estate technology vertical. So we have a program called Reach Labs, and it's through a partnership with the National Association of Realtors. And what NAR does, and what we've kind of built off of what NAR does, is they go out and they seek startup companies that are in the real estate vertical that want to learn about real estate, that want to become a partner to the real estate industry, that want to see what the real estate industry is really like. And they would even potentially invest in these companies to start them up if they're worthwhile. They came to us years ago and said, look, we know that a lot of these startup companies start locally, especially in the Washington, D.C. metro area. In Northern Virginia, we've got a growing technology corridor.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we do our own version of that, where we bring in these companies once or twice a year, and they do almost like a Shark Tank type presentation.
Oh, that's really cool. What is it called? Reach Labs?
It's called Reach Labs, and it's our technology showcase, our Reach Labs event, where we bring them in and they come up and they present a 15-minute quick pitch on their product to an audience of realtors who have in real-time access to an app or a website link that they're providing feedback to these companies, who then could take that feedback back to their companies and maybe re-strategize, think about their technology, how it could better service the industry.
Wow, didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
Other things I'm talking about agents not knowing. What do you think about Forewarn?
Forewarn is a great product.
It is great. And most agents don't know or don't use it. They don't know probably.
That's when I mentioned innovation earlier. NVAR is known to be innovative. That's a product that we brought to Virginia. Mm-hmm. We found this company, not founded, but we found this company that offers an app solution that's essentially a safety solution for realtors.
Absolutely.
And an information solution for realtors, where before they go to work with a prospective client, they have the ability to learn a little bit more about that client's background, so they know what they're going into when they meet with the client.
Right.
And it's on an app. It's right there in your pocket. And so we brought that to the Northern Virginia marketplace around 2021. And then a couple of years later, it was so well received by agents that it's now been brought statewide and is available to realtors across Virginia.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like they say that 90% of the attacks against realtors are towards females.
I don't know the statistics. That may be true. I'm not sure, but realtor safety is something of paramount importance to us as an industry. We want to make sure that realtors are safe. They're aware. They've got the tools that they need to make sure that they can be safe when they're showing a home.
And that app is fantastic, because anybody who's going to show houses before they meet somebody, even before they meet in a meeting or an appointment, they can look up the person who they're going to meet with. I think it's a great product, actually.
Yeah, it basically aggregates publicly available information and aggregates it in a way that's easy to see for a realtor at their fingertips. Correct. So you can see things like their financial background, if they've got bankruptcies or anything like that, or if there's criminal activity, things like that would be good to know, especially going into an open house or meeting a client at a home to show the home. If you're doing an open house, things like that.
Yeah, that's a great product.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit about regulatory and policy impact. So what regulatory or policy changes at the local level do you think will have the most significant impact on real estate professionals and their clients in the coming years?
So if you remember, the third strategic driver that I mentioned was impact. And I said maybe we'll get back to that, and I think this is a good time to do that. One of the things that we focus on is what we call impact as a strategic driver, where that's about three things. One is about the media being the voice of real estate in the region, in the metropolitan DC area, the greater Northern Virginia area. As an organization, we want to get the information out there to the media on the real estate market, what's happening, and telling the story of what's happening in the marketplace. The other way we create an impact is through our community efforts, giving back to the community, having volunteers, realtors volunteer for certain, Habitat for Humanity builds, things like that, donating money to charitable organizations. But the third way we impact the industry is through advocacy. To your question, we get involved with representing realtors at the local, state, and federal level to advocate on their behalf and on their clients' behalf, real estate consumers. So there's a lot of issues out there that we spend a lot of time on trying to protect the industry, trying to protect consumers, but also things that we try to not just advocate for, but have to advocate against that will never see the light of day because of our efforts keeping things bad, sort of bad attempts to regulate an industry or maybe things that aren't in the best interest of the industry or consumers. And I'd say probably on the local, I think your question was about the local level.
The local,
Locally, to us, the most important thing right now is creative ways to increase housing supply.
Yes.
And that really starts at the local government level, building permits, zoning regulations, approval processes, costs of building, all those things local governments have to look at to reduce those burdens so that we can bring more supply to the marketplace.
And this is actually part of my next question. Is affordable housing continues to be a major issue in many markets. So what steps is NVAR taking to address this challenge, both in terms of policy, advocacy, and support for realtors in affected regions?
Yeah, affordable housing is an issue, and it has been in our region in particular. In the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. metro area, affordability is a challenge because the median price of a home is over $700,000. Although we have strong incomes in our area and we're a highly educated region, we've got the federal government in our area, federal government contracting, technology jobs. So we do have a pretty sort of wealthy area to a certain extent. But affordability is a challenge to working class individuals or anyone looking to get into the market. So affordability is important. But we've also looked, the other part of the issue is just how accessibility to housing, even more so than affordability. So you've got affordability, which is, focused on the pricing, but the availability and accessibility of housing in the region with low inventory, low supply, building costs skyrocketing is also part of that problem. So we're focused on affordability. We're focusing on figuring out what local government needs to really do is be creative. They have to be willing to be creative to bring more supply to the marketplace. And in reality, residents and the industry has to be more creative and a willingness to accept something different. You've heard the term NIMBY, maybe not in my backyard.
Oh, yeah.
There is definitely a sense of NIMBYism in communities where, it's okay to help affordable housing, just not in my community.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that we have to try to move away from and everyone accept that. You need a diverse housing stock to make a community successful. So anytime a local government's willing to be creative, we're going to get behind them. Things like the missing middle.
What's your opinion on what happened to Arlington a couple of years ago when they adapted that they can actually build another house within the same property?
Yeah. So we were supportive of the effort as an industry, as an organization. And we were supportive because it was an attempt to increase availability of housing. And if local governments are going to try and do that and be creative, we're generally going to support it, unless it's, something that, is against real estate consumers or the industry,
property or
private property rights, things like that. But we supported it, even though it was controversial, because it was going to potentially increase supply. And that's a good example of where NIMBYism came into play, and it's understandable as a resident of a community, you're concerned about the housing stock and you're concerned about the future. But when you step back and look at the impact of that particular issue, it's going to add a very small amount of new units each year. I don't want to misquote it, but it's less than 100. I want to say it's like 25 to 50 new units.
The worst part is when they build something in that area, that's like $2 million. So what's the purpose? Is defeat the purpose of having something more affordable for people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I understand it. So, let's talk about ethics. So, ethics and professionalism are core values in real estate. How is NVAR ensuring that its members adhere to high ethical standards? And what role does the organization play in promoting trust with the industry?
Yeah, that's a big question. Ethics is critical, and it's really foundational to who we are as a realtor organization. We have a code of ethics, and so when you become a member of the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors, you agree to subscribe to a code of ethics that governs your actions in a real estate transaction. So that code of ethics, it outlines your expectations when you work with your clients, when you work with the public, and when you work with your own peers, your fellow realtors. And we want to make sure that high ethical standard exists. And so we have an enforcement mechanism around that through an ethics, through a grievance committee and a professional standards committee.
Right.
So that's kind of like on the code of ethics side where we have a higher level of expectation of real estate agents beyond just what's required of you in law when you get your real estate license. But the other thing that we do is we try to provide education and awareness. And a big investment that we made at NVAR was to provide complimentary continuing education to all of our members at no additional cost to them, included with their dues. So they can get all 16 hours of their continuing education through NVAR. Brokers, same thing, can get their continuing education. It was a big investment to make sure we felt very strongly. Number one, when the market was challenging about 2 years ago, and it's still relatively challenging, we wanted to be there for our members when they needed us most, and an investment in their education was a great way to do that. And we also felt like if we want to elevate professionalism, we want to make sure we're kind of putting our money where our mouth is and saying, look, education is important to us. It should be important to you. It's important to your ethical and professionalism, so it's available to you.
So talking about ethics and professionalism, something that I want to congratulate you and the staff that you manage is that they're great. Like,
thank you.
They're so professional. You don't see these scandals that you see in NAR. Like, but it is great. So congratulations on that. It's a pleasure going to NVR and find the staff so respectful and so professional.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. We take pride in that. One of our philosophies is to provide world-class customer service. And to be there for our members and to make sure that we have a good attitude when we service our members, and we take that responsibility seriously.
You guys do a great service. Seriously, every class that our agents go to or any events that you guys have, it's all great, so well organized.
Thank you.
Sometimes I feel bad because I don't think we realtors realize all the work that the staff, that you and your staff do for these events. They're so well planned. It's really great. But sometimes I feel like they don't get the recognition that they deserve as a staff, right? But I think they're great.
Thank you, Miguel.
So there has been ongoing debate about the future of real estate commissions and how they are structured. What is NVR's stance on this issue, and how might commission structures evolve in the future? Do you think it's going to be changes?
That's a big question. Yeah. I think it goes back to my first point earlier, is just practices are evolving, and they're going to continue to evolve, and they have evolved. And
realtors adapt.
They adapt. They're really good at adapting. If you look at changes in the real estate industry over the years, there's many different models, business models out there of how commissions are paid, what services are provided for the commissions that are paid, or service fees, things like that. So essential elements, I think, to it and going forward is competition in the marketplace, is creativity, is making sure that realtors are representing the best interest of their clients at all times. And as long as they keep the interest of the client ahead of their own personal interest and other interests, they're going to be fine. So creativity and yeah.
All right. So let's talk about green policy practices. So sustainability is becoming more important to home buyers and sellers. How is NVR guiding its members in adopting green building practices, energy efficiency, and environmentally conscious marketing strategies? Is that part of NVR actually, Joe?
So I could share a couple of practical things from NVAR standpoint. One is just for members of ours who come to our headquarters in Fairfax, we are LEED certified.
Oh yeah, that's
gold
true.
building.
The building, right? Yes.
So when we made that investment about 15 years ago, we decided we wanted to lead by example. Literally lead, by example. No pun intended. So it's a gold certified LEED building, and so it required us to invest in locally, sourced products, and it's energy efficient, things like that. So that's one way that we feel like we lead by example. We just installed EV charging stations at our headquarters for members to take advantage of that. We know there's a big demand and growth and interest for those in the region. particularly in the DC metro region. But there are training courses. I can't say we've put on a lot of them recently, but you can get a designation through the National Association of Realtors called the Green designation to learn about that. And I believe Bright MLS has different fields within their MLS that you can indicate green and energy efficient stuff with the property that you're representing.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So real estate is often highly influenced by economic conditions. How does NVR support its members during market downturns? And what advice would you give realtors in preparing for potential economic shifts?
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but I think one of our driving principles is be there for our members when they need us most. And that driving principle, it carries throughout our entire board of directors who helps govern the association. They strongly believe when it's most difficult markets is when we need to be there the most, which is why, for example, we invested in continuing education as a member benefit a few years ago. When the market is difficult, we put our foot on the gas. We're not taking our foot off the accelerator and hitting the brakes. We're saying, okay, what can we do to be there for our members when they need us most? So we believe in that, and we'll make investments in members to continue to do that. So, for realtors, you'll know the answer better than that. How to prepare for an economic downturn. You'll know the answer to that better than I would necessarily. But generally speaking, just know that you have a partner in the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors. Take advantage of your benefits. For a relatively modest investment, your local dues are $295 to NVAR. For a relatively local or moderate investment, we believe you get a huge return on that, especially if you take advantage of it.
Yes. Like the forewarn app is like $100 only, just if you want to get it on your own out of NVR.
Our legal hotline,
the legal hotline.
You need to talk to a lawyer.
We charge you hundreds of dollars per hour just to give you the information. Yeah, definitely. So this is something really cool that I would love to ask you. As the world becomes more interconnected, how is NVR engaging with global real estate trends and helping members capitalize on international opportunities, especially in markets like foreign investments and cross-border transactions?
Yeah, great question. We are a highly global and multicultural community in Northern Virginia and the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And so we recognize that. So number one, we want to make sure that we're reflecting the interests of our members, which is very diverse, which includes inbound and outbound international investment opportunities, whether it's for residential purposes, to live, to buy a second home, to invest in a business. That happens both ways. So we have a very strong global program, and you've been part of that, Miguel. You've helped lead and be an ambassador to countries like Peru and South America. And that's been hugely valuable because those are some of the biggest populations in our region. So we have global partnerships, and we're expecting to do more. So what we've done is, I think we have something like 6 or 7, maybe 9 formal global partnerships at this point. We call them MOUs, Memorandums of Understanding, where we have it's like a sister city program where there's a real estate organization in another country that's like ours, and we partner with them to say, look, we see you, we know what you're doing for your marketplace in your country, you know who we are, we'd love to work together to expose our respective members to each other's marketplaces to learn, open up investment opportunities. So I'll probably miss some, but for example, we have a partnership with Peru, with Bolivia, with Brazil. That's right. The Philippines, Cambodia, Vietnam, and several others. And I'm sure I missed some. But what we've tried to focus on is we look at Fairfax County's economic development or Fairfax County's demographic information, for example, and we look at the top 10 countries by population represented in Northern Virginia. And that's who we're really targeting internationally to partner up with first. Let's get those top 10 to 15 because we know that's heavily populated. That's a heavily populated population in our region. And then beyond that, we'll continue to expand.
That's great.
Yeah.
Rapid fire questions.
Oh, man. Here we go.
All right. So what's the most unexpected thing you've learned in your career?
The most unexpected thing.
I mean, everything's unexpected in your career, right?
I think the most unexpected thing that I've learned in my career is that attitude and a good effort are more important than skills and talent, in my opinion.
No, I totally agree.
And what I've seen. And you'll be amazed that if you give someone an opportunity to shine, what they can do.
Okay, so what's one habit you've picked up that has significantly impacted your life?
One habit would be I'd have to go to running. Being active with exercise and things like that.
How did that help you?
Well, I'll tell you how it started. I've always been, pretty athletic. Played sports growing up, baseball through college. Stayed active after college, And I got a life insurance policy in my early 30s. And part of that is they take your blood and they test your blood. And one of the things that they found was I have high cholesterol.
You
And
have high cholesterol.
I have high cholesterol. And what I've learned is that it's genetic. There's several people in my family. A lot of people in my family have it. And, there's not much you can do with it without, necessarily, using medication, things like that. But it inspired me to become more rigorous in my focusing on my health and activity. And I became a pretty avid runner after that.
Oh, yeah. It's like some Ironman. Is that that's
not
what you
not
did?
Ironman. I've done a couple of cool things like the Marine Corps Marathon, which was fun. Did I've done the Spartan race, which is kind of cool. It's like an obstacle course thing, but I like to run. It's a good relief for me mentally, physically, stress, things like that, and it keeps me healthy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
I would say any of the founding fathers of our country.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a student of political science, American government, and any one of them, I would love to just sit down and just get into their minds and see what life was like then and what they were thinking and how they were so brilliant to establish, America.
Incredible. What book, movie, or TV show has had the biggest impact on you?
This is a hard one because I like a lot of movies. I can't say I like a lot of books, and I do like a lot of TV shows. I don't know if this has had the biggest impact on me, but one recently that's had a big impact on me is a book by David Goggins. It's called Can't Hurt Me. I don't know if you know David Goggins.
Oh, yes, of
former
course,
Navy
yeah.
SEAL.
Yeah, of course. The guy who's always running without shirt.
Yeah. Very. That book came out around the pandemic, and at that time, the world was weird, and people were looking for inspiration. I was looking for inspiration to keep me and my family going, and just kind of stay inspired. And I read that book, and it inspired me. His grit, his determination, his attitude, his effort, what he overcame growing up, and what he did as an adult, and what he's achieved to this day. That was really inspiring.
That's an incredible story. So, what's something that always surprises you about the work you do?
Something that always surprises me about the work I do. How much passion realtors have for the community and for each other and for the industry. It drives me. I think it gives me an energy and inspires me to go to work every day because realtors care so much about the industry and they care so much about their communities.
It's funny because the same answer I got from two previous people. Yeah,
interesting.
You and Brian from Brian.
Yeah, maybe that's why we're in this field.
That's probably why, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, what's the most challenging part of your day-to-day routine?
Most challenging part of my day is getting up at 5 a.m. every day.
So you wake up at 5?
I try to get up at 5 a.m. every day.
I go to bed at 5 a.m. Yeah.
It is never easy. I don't care what anybody says. There's no way, getting up at 5 a.m. in a warm, cozy bed to getting out of bed is not difficult. You have to it's a test of your mental strength and your willingness to endure. And, there's been many days where I hit the snooze button too many times, and I feel really good when I'm able to get out of bed at 5 a.m., but that is incredibly hard to do.
Wow. Okay. So if you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Definitely, it would be playing guitar like James Hetfield, the lead singer and rhythm guitarist for Metallica.
Oh, you play that already?
I play guitar, but not like James Hetfield. He can hold a rhythm and thrash like nobody.
I don't know how to play. So I'll give you some lessons. So what's a misconception people often have about your industry?
I think a lot of people think that real estate is an easy way to get rich quick. And that's not the case. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of learning, and a lot of investment of time and energy and resources to build wealth and build generational wealth and invest in your career. It's a lot of hard work. We got a lot of professionals that work hard to get to that level.
Yes, that's true. So what's your go-to productivity tip?
I use Google Calendar or Calendar. Use a calendar. I think just,
calendar, right?
That keeps me on track. Keeps my life sane, not just at work, but also with our family. We all have a Google shared calendar that we use for all the sporting events, school events, everything.
Every agent that is struggling, selling real estate, and I ask them to see their calendar, it's empty.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is interesting to me because, how are you going to keep a schedule if you don't have anything in writing, right?
Right. I think that takes self-discipline to block out time, to make phone calls, to invest in your marketing technique, whatever that is. But if you put it in the calendar, it's real.
I'm so bad at it that I have to put everything. If I have
Yeah.
time to eat, I need to put it on my calendar. If I'm gonna go out with my kids, I have to put it on the calendar. Otherwise, I would not do it. It's so hard. So I depend on my calendar so much.
Yeah, great.
It's incredible. So, what's something you wish you had known earlier in your career?
Something I wish I'd known earlier in my career. It doesn't necessarily get easier as you move up.
Okay, bringing hope.
Well, it's a different kind of challenge. I think, early in your career, you're driving towards continuing to move up, and I'm going to make more money. I'm going to have more responsibility, and then when you get to that point, you're like, well, all right, I'm going to make more money. I'm going to lead. I'm going to grow, and you keep going, and it's just the challenge continues. And I think it could be in a healthy way. It doesn't have to be negative, but I think that every one of those levels, you're challenged with something new that drives you to the next level.
So everybody has a different meaning for success. How do you define success for yourself?
That is a really difficult question, but I think if I had to boil it down, it would be to have a happy and healthy family. That's success for me, because everything else doesn't really matter if I don't have a happy and healthy family.
To me, it's like if you have a couple of teenagers and you go home and they want to talk to you and sit down, like, to me, that's success.
That's a win.
Okay, that's a win.
Yeah,
so what's a recent project or accomplishment you're really proud of?
I think last year with the NAR settlement being announced and the rules changes, I think the role that NVAR played in leading the country really with how we pivoted with our standard forms and our approach to the industry and the marketplace. We positioned ourselves for the future, positioned Realtors for the future. We could have just sort of, use the analogy of like a Band-Aid. We could have just sort of slowly peeled back the Band-Aid, made some moderate changes, but we said, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's position for the future, skate to where the puck is going. And we did. And as a result, neighboring associations in the region followed suit, and a lot in the country did. Proud of that.
Okay. So the answer for this one cannot be family. So what's one thing that always gets you inspired or motivated?
If I need good inspiration, I'll watch a David Goggins video.
Oh, okay.
Or another person that I follow, Cameron Haynes. He's a endurance runner / hunter.
What's his name?
Cameron Haynes.
Cameron Haynes.
Read his book too. It's called Endure. Another kind of came out there around the same time, 2020.
Yeah.
Follow him. He's a hunter, avid hunter, but he hunts for 1 month out of a year for elk in September. That's the hunting season. I think it's September, October. And the rest of the 11 or 10 months, he is working out, running, getting fit for that 1 month and training relentlessly on shooting bow and arrow so that when he has those 30 days, he doesn't miss a shot. So the things that he does is pretty inspiring. David Goggins, he's just, you gotta have thick skin to listen to him because he curses.
Yeah, the guy's like, big time.
He's rough, but he will get you amped up and inspired.
If you could only eat one cuisine for the rest of your lives, what would it be?
Probably pizza.
Pizza, okay.
Yeah, New York City pizza specifically.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right, and the last question that I have for you, what advice would you offer to a real estate agent?
Just any advice?
Yeah, any advice.
Thank you for what you do to represent, I guess it's not really advice, but thank you to what you do to represent the American dream of homeownership. And my advice to you is don't forget that that's one of the reasons why you do what you do, is you're advancing the American dream of homeownership. You're helping people build intergenerational wealth. You're helping advance private property rights. So thank you for what you do.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here today, Ryan.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.